Hello everybody, and welcome if you're new here. Thank you for all the support and comments and outpouring of just collective revelation I feel like we had in my careerism video recently. I didn't expect so many people to resonate with that topic, but the comment section made it very clear that entering the working world after school, whatever that looks like for you, is a very alienating, eye-opening, like disorienting experience, and you're not wrong for feeling that way. The educational industrial complex is real. Our jobs for 18, 22, 25, 30 years, however long your school experience takes you, is to be students and to get that degree. And once you get that piece of paper, you lose this like very grounding goal in your life, if that was a goal for you. And you also lose your identity as a student, which, if you couldn't tell, I loved my experience being a student, even though there are a lot of flaws in our education system. It takes work to like reimagine your identity, your purpose, your driving goal, the structure of your lifestyle. And I had a sinking feeling that a lot of you know what I'm talking about based on the comment section of that video and based on a quick Instagram survey I did. Also, thanks for 10K on Instagram, tattoo coming soon. I had never seen so many responses to an Instagram question. I was scrolling for miles. People were just coming out of the woodwork from all areas of my life to tell me that nothing is right, everything is upside down. There's a lot of unsettling shit to work through, and I just want to get really honest in this video about what I've experienced and just chat. I'm not pretending to know it all. And what I'll also say, and this goes for really any advice you receive in your life, is to take what's helpful and just leave the rest. Like, if something I say doesn't feel like it applies to you, it probably doesn't, and I only want to reassure in this video I do not need to cause anyone more uncertainty. Okay, let's roll. Overwhelmingly, my Instagram DMs were filled with one very homogenous answer. It came up so much that I was like convinced you all had like a Katherout town hall meeting without me and like formed a unified front to let me know that like this was the main thing that you're all struggling with. And that is with the number of people that responded this way, I almost feel a responsibility to start like connecting you all in local hubs to hang out. Like, we should be able to solve this problem just in the YouTube comment section alone. Let's start with like a Katherout book club regionally or something. Like, let's figure out how we solve this problem just in our own community online here. But loneliness is pervasive. Like, doesn't matter what you see on your Instagram stories, everybody experiences loneliness. I'll link a fantastic podcast below about loneliness, covered in such a thought-provoking way, in that in some ways loneliness is structural. Like, you really cannot get too down on yourself about it because we live in like a very individualistic society. We don't live in like communal settings anymore. So it's not all your fault if you're feeling lonely, let me just say that. But one of the most important things I realized is that experiencing loneliness sucks, but it's the beating yourself up for it that really takes the cake. When you are sitting in your room alone on a Saturday night and it feels like everybody is hanging out without you, it's okay to acknowledge that feeling. But what I usually jump to is then attributing like a lot of negative self-talk as to why I'm in that situation and just really bashing myself for even feeling lonely in the first place. So I would say, while making friends is a longer process, it's not like a 1-2 snap, bing bang boom situation. Catching yourself when you start to police your loneliness is something more short term that really does help. And then on the friends front, I did see some concern from a lot of you about drifting away from your college friends, and that's super natural. Like, some friendships just are out of proximity and convenience, that, you know, you see each other 5 times a week on campus or at work or in a certain class, and maybe there's just not enough of a strong tether there to keep you together. And if you lose a friendship and you don't feel a sense of loss with it, it's okay. Like, it's okay to just move on from that. But I will say, in my garden of college friendships, some of them went a little more underwatered over the past few years, and one thing that friendships going virtual this past year allowed me to do is reestablish friendships that previously I thought I could only maintain in person. Like, I thought unless I was visiting them in LA or on the East Coast or wherever they happen to be, we couldn't progress our friendship, but that's like so freaking wrong. So that's one thing, is like establish recurring touch points with your friends. I'm not saying set bi-weekly FaceTime dates with people unless that's your bag and that's the most natural thing for you. I think for me that just tends to make things a little bit forced, and sometimes you don't always have things to talk about. I love voice messages. I've introduced those to a couple of my friendships, and it's just wonderful to hear people's voices. It allows the conversation to be a little more longer form as opposed to just like quick text exchanges. Some folks don't like it. That's totally cool. I don't force people to audio message with me. But that's one thing I found strengthens a lot of my friendships. But reinvesting in your current friendships can also produce offspring. I don't know why I'm talking about this like it's a, fucking Punnett square, but for me, that has looked like Zoom game nights with my girlies. I was not so bold as to start doing this on my own, but my friend Deanne invited me to a fishbowl night. Fishbowl is just like this online game, super fun. You don't have to have like any shared community, or shared rapport with people to play the game. And she invited a couple friends from college, couple friends from post-college, high school. So I knew like one or two people there, and then everybody else was new to me. And that was a beautiful thing. We developed like a little mini bond, even though they lived 3,000 miles away. And since then, I've done that with my friends. Like, I had like a Zoom kiki for my birthday, invited all my friends. Now I'm putting together this camping trip that I'm inviting disparate friends from all over to come. And it's like a little risky. Like, it's something I avoided for like years and years. Like, I remember every birthday before this feeling so nervous about like combining friends. But I cannot point to a single time where it has not panned out successfully. And I've seen like friendships then splinter off from these gatherings, and people develop their own relationships, and it's like, what better feeling is that? So even though maybe you're planning this just for your friend group and you're not making new friends that way, it may inspire your friends, like it did for me and Deanne, to then take on that practice and you meet their friends, which is quite honestly the easiest way to make friends. I do want to make a whole video on this topic, especially after I move to Seattle and delve into this world once again. Moving on. You don't need to be friends with all of your coworkers. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. Like, I've found a couple of great friends through my office that even after they've left my company, we've still been able to maintain our friendship. It's so helpful to have like a work wife or a work husband, a work partner, having someone that's just your ally that, gets it, and you can just have that person on your side. That's so helpful. But I think something I experienced graduating was like, oh shit, the only way to make friends is through your work environment. So I need to like be on top of my game to like go to so many happy hours and like hit them up for lunch and like try to make plans outside of work and like really muscle these coworkers into friends, because like this is my only shot. And that's a little bit of an over exaggeration, but I was living at home in the suburbs. All my coworkers were living in San Francisco. I just felt so left out. Like, I could see that they were hanging out without me. And for a while I was like, man, I feel kind of bad. I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do out of college, and I'm not like taking full advantage of these people that like actually happen to be my age and are in a similar place in life. And looking back on it, I'm glad I did not force those friendships. And a lot of those coworkers that I saw hanging out on the weekends and going to Tahoe together, once they took other jobs and left, like, they haven't seen each other in years. So like, even though it might seem like that's the strongest way to make friends, if that's not happening for you, it's okay. It's not the end all be all. You should not feel inadequate if you're not squatting the fuck up with like your entire office every weekend. Let's talk about what the fuck you're supposed to do with your life. I don't know, but what I do know is that the more time you spend on LinkedIn, the more turned around you're gonna get. Like, I never go through my notifications on LinkedIn and look at all the new jobs people are taking and all the posts about their work accolades and the conferences they're speaking at and feel a sense of like validation that what I'm doing is right. It's so backwards for me to do that. I get into a bad headspace when I visit LinkedIn, and I know that I'm not unique in that. So while I cannot tell you what you should be doing in your life, I found that I can unplug from a lot of the static about all of the other things I could be doing by just staying off of LinkedIn. And, you know, your path is your own. And I've heard that advice like 1,800 times in my life, and it never gets old. Like, it's always helpful when someone tells me that, so I'm just gonna keep repeating it. Even though I was a business major in college, I still graduated with like such low confidence of like where exactly I should be putting the tiny amount of savings I had, my retirement, my investments. I felt like I just needed someone with a strong sense of financial literacy to let me in on which funds I should be picking, which service to go through, like all of it, which is why Wealthfront is the sponsor of today's video. Hi, Wealthfront. Since they like really can cover you on all those fronts, I would never try to push you to invest until you really have a grasp on your emergency fund and your savings. But if you're at the point where you're ready to invest but just don't know where to start, that's really where Wealthfront can offer some support with their automated investing service. They cover you all the way from general savings to retirement with a range of investment accounts, some of the most popular being a taxable account and an IRA/retirement account. As evidenced by this video, there's just far too much on your mind after graduating that it can be such a relief to just be able to set and forget your investments, which is very possible since Wealthfront software will manage your investments for you and then employ strategies like rebalancing so that you can maximize your returns while also minimizing your risk. All you gotta do is just answer a few questions that Wealthfront can get a handle on your risk tolerance, and then Wealthfront handles the rest. It really only takes a few minutes to set up, and then you can get back to focusing on everything else you got going on, and Wealthfront will handle everything in the background. In partnering with Wealthfront, they're offering all of my viewers up to $5,000 managed for free for life. With the link in my description, it is invest.wealthfront/Katherout. When it comes to figuring out like what you're gonna do, where you're gonna live, who you're gonna associate with, what you'll spend your free time on, there are a lot of ways to take your life out of college. There is not one right way, as much as maybe your parents or your friends want you to believe. Anybody who's ever done one session of therapy knows that most feedback you get is just projection. Like, people fucking love to project. I love to project. My neighbors love to project. Everybody does it. It's so natural to just like hear your friend voice something and then just map your value system, your goals and dreams, your fears onto them. People will project what they deem acceptable onto you, and just don't take it. Make the mental note to just attribute that, that's projection. Like, I don't need to let that land in my soul. I can just send it away, banish it to hell. People have good intentions. It's just like, it's not always the most helpful thing. So the more that you can just stop accepting projection, even from your best of friends, the more settled you're gonna feel that you're just charting your own course and you're chugging along. I got some doubt from folks about whether they're living up to their 18-year-old self's expectation of what their life should be like at 22 or 24 or 30. And I too bought into the notion that like it would be really cool to make 16-year-old Catherine super proud of where I am today and like just become the woman that I thought I would be. But hot take, I'm actually really glad that I'm not the person that 16-year-old me wanted me to be. I just had like a quick flash of like what my life would look like if I stuck to her vision, and it's just so far from what I want now. I have changed so much, my sense of self has changed so much that it makes a lot of sense why I wouldn't live up to what 16-year-old Kath wanted me to be, but I'm really proud of who I'm becoming, and that's what matters. it is actually super cool if you don't recognize yourself anymore. I felt a solid out of bodiness last year when I realized that like so much of the map of who I am had like gone off the chart. And I was like, oh my God, like how do I even assemble who I am anymore when it's so leaps and bounds different than who I was like even a year, 2 years ago? And you just gotta move the map over a little bit. Like you just gotta tape some paper on and just like shift over the viewfinder a little bit. It's actually very radically impressive to me that we can change so much year over year, and you should applaud yourself for that. This one needs to be said, and that is the ability to set boundaries with people. I never learned this in college. I never practiced it in college. I had no boundaries. Like that was an unheard of concept to me. Maybe I was just super naive in that way, and this is something that all of you have mastered. But as I begin to set boundaries with my loved ones and people that are really important to me, boundaries aren't just for people that you're trying to stay away from. They're also for people that you really want to keep in your life. It's just about setting healthy expectations with people so that you can continue to have a thriving friendship, relationship. And the people that react the worst to you setting a boundary are usually the ones that need it the most. And you also learn a lot about a person from the way they react to you boundary setting. Even if you're a wonderful, fantastic friend, like friend breakups happen. It doesn't mean that you're, I was gonna say the son of Satan, but like I feel like Lil Nas X has like really reestablished how fun and cool it is to be a little satanic. Anyway, it doesn't make you a bad person if you and a friend need to part ways because you're just very different now. And setting those boundaries can prevent friend breakups from happening with people that you really care about. I also want to send the signal flying that if there is something in your life that you really don't like, you persistently feel so much dissonance with it, it is not sitting right with you, you're allowed to leave it. If that's a place, if that's a job, if that's a person, like as much as people will encourage you to just like stick things out forever and ever until they get better, like if it's not getting better, it's okay to prioritize your health, your well-being. Like my mental health suffered big time last year, and there were steps I could have taken to mitigate some of that, but I was too scared to like make big changes in my life. So if you genuinely feel like getting up and going is what you need to do, that's okay, and it's not gonna blow up your entire life. Or maybe that's what you need, is to blow up your entire life. Ooh, living with your parents is fine. I think a lot of the shame has sort of worn off as it's become super normalized in the pandemic to move back in with your parents no matter what age you're at. But even if you're living with your parents years from now, it's not unnatural. It's actually a super Western individualistic concept to say that it's weird to have multiple generations living in one home. Like in many cultures, that is the standard, and living on your own at 25 is the exception. So like if that situation is working out for you or it's what you got, don't let people make you feel less than for it. It's very understandable. Whew, that was a lot of self-reflection for one video. I would love to know what's taking up the most brain space in your precious post-grad head. If you want to put that in the comments below, just dump all your worries and then I will burn the comment section for us in a communal bonfire later this week. If you look in my description box and the button that says subscribe is red, I do just want to let you know that you can click it. It will then turn gray. Confetti balloons and fireworks will explode from your computer screen. There's also a thumbs up available for your clicking. That always helps me a ton. If you got anything out of this video, that'd be much appreciated. I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching, and Katherout.